take the opportunity of showing you what I've got in my rucksack. This is the rucksack that I carry in normal summer conditions in the Scottish Hills, and not too bad weight wise, probably weighs about 10 kilos, something in the region of that, and packs down to a pretty reasonable size that I'm happy carrying for a full day out on the hill. On the outside, I try to and keep it really neat and tidy. If you've got things dangling on the outside of your rucksack, then the chances are you're going to lose them. And the only thing on the outside is the pole if I'm not actually using it myself. And a good top tip for the pole is to definitely store it with the point facing down the way and covered, because I've been involved in an accident where someone actually ended up with a pole sticking in someone's neck where they actually fell and hurt somebody. So good top tip there, and obviously it's very useful for things like river crossings and rough ground. So I'll start off at the top of the rucksack. I try and pack it so I can access things easily, so the things that I'm most likely I'm going to need are the most convenient, and smaller things at the top, I guess. I always carry a mobile phone, and it's in a waterproof carry case, because irrespective of what the manufacturers tell you, I still have never found a rucksack that's actually waterproof in some conditions. Mobile phone is obviously really useful for an emergency situation, but just remember that you don't always have phone reception in all locations. I also have in here a few snack bars, and crucially for me in the summer is a handy sun hat and sunglasses as well, and some sun cream, and my compass is very handy, depending on whether I'm intending to use it straight away or in fact it might just be attached to the jacket of my waterproof. I always have it on a string and a wee little carabiner, so it's easy to clip onto a zip and easy to access, and also make sure that I don't lose it. They're kind of expensive. In a wee dry bag in the top is some stuff that perhaps you might not think of carrying in summer, but highly recommend it, because here in the Scottish Hills, as some of you well know, you can get snow any time of the year. In fact, just a week ago in July I was in quite a severe hailstorm, so I've got a pair of lightweight gloves, and I've also got a fleecy buff which can double up as a hat as well, so they're really sort of lightweight, useful bits of kit. Delving a bit deeper in the main pocket, I have lurking in the top here a map. I don't often carry a full piece of map because I find that it's quite bulky, quite difficult to use in a high wind, and certainly a map case hanging around your neck is not the best way to carry your map in the Scottish Hills. So I often cut down a piece of map, have it laminated, and it just handily fits in a pocket then. Particularly useful in winter conditions, but if you've got a full piece of map or a full size map, then definitely having it in a map case. Otherwise you're just going to end up with a soggy mush in some of our delightful weather. Have a wee head torch. It is a very small head torch, and I'm not planning to use it, and it really is there just in case of emergencies only. I seem to have a spare compass for some reason. I'm obviously paranoid about losing one there, and a GPS. Again, this is a piece of kit that can be a really useful bit of kit, but again, not to be relied on. They do eat batteries, and they do take some training to actually use them effectively. One top tip I would use is use lithium batteries, because the Duracells just don't last very long at all, and lithiums will have about 8 times the life in a GPS. Okay, going into the main pocket of the rucksack. Should have pointed out on my pole as well, most important bit of first aid kit or repair kit is a bit of duct tape on the pole there, and I also keep a wee bit around my flask as well. Depends what the forecast's like, but sometimes I'll carry a hot drink in summer and sometimes I'll carry a cold drink, and just depends where I'm going, what I'm doing, and what the weather's like. Gaiters. Now, wearing gaiters in summer can be really cumbersome because they can be really hot and sweaty. I tend to wear the shorter type of gaiter, and depending on where I'm going will depend whether I'm wearing them or not. So here in the Cairngorms, for example, I very rarely wear gaiters, especially on very dry, hard terrain. But if I'm over on the west coast, then I'll often have them on from leaving the car. Okay, delving down through the rucksack, getting onto clothing now, guys. You'll notice the clothing that I'm wearing is very lightweight, synthetic, easy dry clothing. And I've already got a layering system on here of a thermal vest and then a long sleeve thermal vest. It's far better having several layers that you can adjust than one thick layer. It also means if something gets wet you can actually take it off and change it to something else. So on top of that I'll wear a wee windproof synthetic jacket, which is like a thin fleece with a hood. And often that might be enough in summer conditions, but there's certainly times when it's not. Waterproof jackets, absolutely crucial. I think even if it's a good forecast, then to go out without waterproofs will be pretty foolhardy in the Scottish hills. And it might be you actually just need it for warmth, or you need it to keep the wind off, not necessarily just for waterproofing. And a pair of lightweight waterproof trousers. We're getting there, we're really getting there. It's a bit of a TARDIS. I've got a thicker fleece type top here. This is actually a windstopper fleece and also showerproof as well, but never kind of takes the place of having a sort of Gore-Tex type shell. And I always look at the worst case scenario, you know, what if something happens and you're stationary on the hill for a long period of time. And having been involved with the Cairngorm rescue team for many years, virtually every instant we go out to on the hills we're dealing with not only the injury but the person having hypothermia as well, and that's not just in the winter, it's every month of the year here in Scotland. So I like to carry things that I know is going to combat that to a certain extent if I'm stationary on the hill for a period of time. So I have a wee synthetic duvet jacket here. It's in a dry bag. You'll notice I don't carry everything in a big waterproof sack because I find those a real pain. So anything that I really need to keep dry and I'm not using regularly go in little waterproof stuff sacks. And this is a very lightweight duvet. In winter I carry a much more heavy duty one, and synthetic rather than down, so if it is wet then it still retains some of its warmth features. A couple more things, guys. First aid kit, again in a very waterproof bag. I can't emphasise enough that your rucksack will end up like a swimming pool in wet conditions in Scotland. And in that I have the most accessible thing is a pair of rubber gloves, a sling, and then a very minimal first aid kit, which has even things like these cable ties, which are ideal for various repairs on rucksacks or boots or things like crampons in the winter. But I'm certainly not into carrying sort of a huge amount of first aid kit. I think you can, with a bit of duct tape, a couple of cable ties and a pair of rubber gloves and a triangular bandage, you can go a long way. This is quite important. Pack lunch. Again, I keep it in a wee dry bag because it keeps everything together and keeps it dry. And think quite carefully about what you're taking on the hill. Obviously it needs to be something that's attractive to eat if it's cold and wet, and it also needs to give you the adequate calories. So I tend to take a mixture of things like sandwiches, some chocolate, perhaps some peanuts, and if I'm feeling healthy, a bit of fruit. And finally, and this is something that I would never go on the hill without, if I was thinning out every possible thing because I want it to go as lightweight as possible, then I always have the bivy bag. It's a £5 orange plastic bivy bag, waterproof for Scottish conditions again, so it doesn't get all manky in the bottom of my rucksack. And the reason I carry this, and it weighs absolutely nothing, is I was involved with a rescue a few years ago up on the plateau, and there were two folk up there. The lady was in the bivy bag and the guy wasn't. The guy was dead, the lady was alive, and for a £5 plastic bivy bag, then I think it's a really good investment.